Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the awards announcement for our category Behaviour. Now, William Steele's all lined up in my virtual green room, and we're going to get talking to him very shortly, sharing some fantastic photography and talking to some of our winners. We'll get to that right after this. William, hello.
Hi Rob, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Sorry about the pale backdrop. Just internet issues as always. I think every time we have these calls, I say
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed it works. It seems to be holding up okay at the moment. So, and I've got no wingman sat in the background like we had. I can't remember who it was for now. I think it was Georgina actually once when she was out and about and she had a dodgy internet connection. I think I had Josh sort of helping out just in case it all sort of fell apart. But anyway, if it does, I can fly solo. It's fine. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be fine. Behavior. Wow. Another fantastic category. So it's one of our more literal categories, actually, rather than the sort of, more artistic type themes that we have. But again, amazing standard of photography, that came through from that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, from my personal photography, I'm not necessarily a huge behavior photographer, so I actually really enjoyed us pairing this up because it meant that I could hopefully get some inspiration from people, and that's certainly happened, which is really nice.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what it's all about, isn't it? It's it's sort of being inspired by other people's photography, and that goes for judges as well as entrants. And you as judges, all across the board have said this right from sort of day one, really, right from the very first category that we had last year, that how inspired that you all feel by looking at some of these photographs and the way people go about it. It's been an incredible journey so far.
No, exactly. I mean, every time we have a call, every time there's a judges session, we're always wowed by these different takes on, normal subjects. And I think that's the beauty of looking at the art side of things rather than, the generic competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And we certainly got some amazing stuff to show everybody tonight. So we won't wait too long before we get down to it. Just a quick thing to say to everybody that if you want to stop by and say hello, or you want to comment on any of the images, then please do feel free to do so in the comments. It'd be nice to hear what you've got to say, and I'll sort of pause every now and again and try and run through some of those comments as we go through the evening. I can see there are a couple of people on already. So Aniban Duta's on. He says, hi, Rob. Good evening to you. Patrick Novotny's on. Hello from Texas. Hi, Pat. And Viviana Biazzo. Hello, Viviana. And Rachel Piper's on as well. I've just seen that message pop up saying, hi, everybody. Hello, Rachel. So it's good to have a few of our regulars and a few new people I see. So that's fantastic. Shall we get on and share the sort of first of what we normally do is we normally do the young award first, but our young winner isn't with us, so I'm going to save that until the end. So we talk to people, we talk to people who've got lined up, relatively quickly, not to keep them waiting. So let's start off with our Founder's Choice award. So let me show that image first, and then I'll bring on our winner so we can have a chat to him. So this is my Founder's Choice for the behavior category. And Anth.
Hi, Rob.
Hi. What an amazing image. When I saw that, in the entries when I was going through them first off, as a really keen bird photographer myself. I just looked at it, just thought, oh, I would have loved to have taken that. There's so many lovely things to say about it. I mean, it's pretty graphic, but I think there's a place for that. So what we'll do is William and I'll have a quick chat about it. I'll bring your image up sort of large on the screen in a sec. William and I have a chat, and then we'll have a chat to you about it, because I'm quite keen to have a bit more of a chat with you about the species and how you took it and everything else, because so let's bring your image up. Let me just I've got to share a screen. I stopped sharing it earlier for a reason, so let me just share a screen. It's professional as always, you see this. So slick. Anyway, there we go. So William, I mean, I think all the judges echoed what I just said, really, in terms of the way this image was so striking, and it's, for me, what I really loved about it was, I said I know it's graphic, but there's a place for that, but it's the position of what is an Indian pond heron, actually, because we were musing about what species it was when we were judging, weren't we? And it's the way that head is just in line and pointing the same way as the falcon's head, and the points of contact with the feet, where you've got the sinews from the head, and then you've got that other part from the being pulled by the bird's beak, and it's just all in line, and it's what an amazing picture. The light is gorgeous. I mean, what more can you say, really?
It's one of those images, and yeah, I mean, you've touched on the graphic nature of it, and it was a discussion that we had amongst the judges about whether graphic photos have a place in competitions, and we universally just said that they do. Every image should have an equal play in these competitions, and this is nature, and unfortunately maybe this image isn't for everyone, but if you look at it from a technical standpoint, everything about it is really, really brilliant. From the low angle, from the fact that when you're that low, you think there'd be grass in the way of the pond heron's face, that there'd be sort of too much distraction going on, and there just isn't. And it's so smooth, the foreground and the background. There's action, there is beautiful composition, there's symmetry to the head. It's the longer you look at it, the more amazing it really is.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess from it's quite a for this competition, it's quite a literal image, isn't it? Because we tend to sort of pick things that are perhaps sort of a bit more swayed towards the artistic side of photography. But I think that this particular image, as you say, it's so perfect in terms of its technical, in terms of the technical attributes, and it's so I think there's a whole load of emotions that go on when you see this image. It's very impactful, and I think that is certainly what made it stand out for me. That's for sure. So anyway, let's have a chat to to the chap that's taken this, because I'd like a little bit more. I'd like to know a little bit more about the circumstances behind it, because we were talking about the species. Now, this is explain to everybody what species of falcon this is.
So, Rob, it is a Shahin falcon. Okay, so usually it hunts around in a pond heron egrets. So, how I took this picture is, I mean, we used to observe the bird when it actually drive and hunt towards the pond heron, right? So it'll dive very fast. So when it dives, so usually we approach the Shahin falcon via car. So we maintain a pretty good distance. So we ensure that the bird is not disturbed, and then we get down on the car slowly. We maintain a distance and then photograph so that we get a eye level and good background. And this bird will actually, it's a very, very ferocious bird. It's so aggressive on when it hunts the prey, right? That is the behavior of it. It completely tears the entire pond heron. I was waiting for the moment exactly when it will peel the entire head. I mean, that is a moment which is being captured here.
Yeah, it's incredible. But because this is a subspecies of the peregrine falcon, isn't it?
It is. I'm not sure it's a subspecies. It's a different type of falcon. It says. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I think I think for people in the UK and Europe, probably the nearest, well, North America, come to that, the nearest thing is probably the peregrine, and that's that's displaying very, very similar attributes in the way it hunts if it's coming down from height at speed and surprising its prey like that. And I think you made a very, very important point actually in when you were just sort of describing, how you approach this bird, and it's not to disturb it from a kill, because a lot of energy has been expended in actually being a successful hunt, and the last thing we as photographers want to do is interfere with that process and actually frighten it off potentially from something which it's spent a great deal of energy actually obtaining, and it could affect its sort of short-term and long-term prospects. So I think it's a really, really important point you make, and something that I'd like to cover actually in another live, perhaps at a future date, is sort of talking about the whole sort of ethical approach to wildlife photography. So well done you for for that approach, and ensuring that the welfare of the animal actually comes first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. William, I'm sure you'd probably like to add to that, coming from an area where conservation and sort of the approach of wildlife photographers is paramount.
Yeah, exactly. Here we obviously have a huge or much more vehicle-driven, tourism and safaris and so on. So you constantly see that the implications of people who are approaching wildlife without understanding behavior or without respecting behavior. So it's really, great to hear that, people are respecting the wildlife and making sure that they come first. Because I always say, when I leave a sighting and the animal's in the same state it was when you arrived, I mean, occasionally even when you're walking, you can disturb a species and you get a shot, and it's, it's great, but it's so much nicer to leave a species relaxed and calm and let it, continue about its day.
Yeah, no, very, very important. But no, that is an amazing image, and of course, by winning my Founder's Choice Award, that image will now go forward to our grand final at the end of the year, so it'll be in the mix when we discuss, who will actually be our Wild Art Photographer of the Year winner. So that buys you a pass into the final. So, and that is an incredible picture. And if you continue taking stuff like that, I'm sure we'll be talking to you again, because it's I said I would have loved to have taken that image. Let's just deal with a couple of comments before we say goodbye. But so Roman Villi, he's on from Switzerland. He says hi from Switzerland. Rebecca Nason's on, one of our judges, of course. Hi, Rebecca. She says hi, friends. Can't wait to see these. Absolutely, some amazing stuff coming up, and you've got some amazing stuff to go through in human nature as well, Rebecca. So, of course, that was our category for July. I can't believe July's gone past already. So that competition is closed, and Rebecca's got access to all those images to go through. So another fantastic selection to have a look at. So I'm looking forward to seeing what floats to the top from that selection. And Natasha Cohen says hello all. Hi Natasha. Kobe Cooper, hello from Tennessee. Karthi Kian says hi from India, and Eli Porat's on as well. Hello, Eli. Hello from Israel. Hope everybody is doing okay. And he says absolutely stunning image. Well, I think everybody will echo that. So no, it's a fantastic image, and isn't it great to have so many people on from all around the world? This is why I love this way of doing things. It means we can connect with everybody. It was always really difficult. I remember when I did Bird Photographer of the Year and we had that awards presentation, and we used to do a bird fair in the UK, and people used to make an effort and come from all over the place. I mean, the winner came from Peru one year. It was incredible, but this is so much easier with all the problems around the world at the moment. It's to bring people on and have a chat. It's fabulous to be able to do that. So and thank you so much for coming on and having a chat.
Thanks,
and,
Rob.
and well done on a fabulous image. So yeah,
brilliant. Well done on that.
Let's just stop sharing that screen for a second. We'll bring you up bigger on bigger on the screen and say goodbye. We've got Indian heat actually in the UK at the moment. It's quite incredible. You've probably heard on the news. Sort of 30. We had 40 degrees the other day.
I hope it stays till October because I'm coming to the UK, but not the best time to be coming. But
well, don't know. October's a lovely month, and I'm looking forward to it getting a bit cooler. To be honest, I don't do heat very well. But anyway, and thank you so much for coming on. It was lovely chatting to you. You know, happy shooting or clicking or whatever you want to call it. And we'll talk to you again, no doubt. But as I said, if you want to hang around for a chat afterwards, then please do. Or if you want to get on with your day, that's absolutely fine. But I'll put you back in our sort of virtual green room, and we'll say goodbye for now. Anyway, lovely talking to you. Thanks so much. All right. Cheers. Right, which brings us on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our Bronze Award winner. So just let me line that video up. He says, it's as slick as ever. Okay, so our Bronze Award winner for behavior is... Bianca.
Hello.
Hello. And we haven't spoken since you won the silver in Eyes last year. People remember that image. That actually that was high key as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Your high key hair on.
Yeah, I like that to photograph.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I'm going to bring your image up on the screen, and William and I will have a quick chat about it, and then we'll talk to you in a little bit more detail about how you took the image and those sorts of things. So bear with me a second while I add that image into the screen. There we go. Hopefully everybody will be able to see that nice and large. So William, what really made this stand out?
It's just one of those images that perfectly sums up how powerful minimalism can be. And beyond minimalism, also just really pushing the boundaries of composition as well. I think all of us love it when a rule is broken, and this really is, being positioned all the way on the right there is just so unique, so different. And it's yet again an image that at first glance seems very simple, but the more you look at it and the more the composition stands out. One of the things we pointed out was how the wings, although it's really far in the corner, the wings point to that top left-hand corner, and it leads you into that open space, which gives your eye space to relax. It's a beautiful, minimal version of how behavior can be portrayed as well. And I think we just loved it for that.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. It's just so, when you first look at it, you go, why did you put it in the frame there? But it just works. I would never, ever have put it in that part of the frame. And that's what I love about it, is when I see something, I think I would have taken it like that, but it works. I should have, I need to look at things a little differently. I need to, perhaps question the way I compose certain images, certain situations where I could get more out of it by being bolder. I think that's a lesson that we can all take away from this, and that's what I love about it. It's sort of teaching me new things. It sort of tells me that there are situations where I could be bolder and get something exceptional out of perhaps a situation where it was pretty sort of ordinary. But this is just, it's just fabulous. As I said, being in that bottom corner of the frame is very, very unusual, and it shouldn't work, with the main protagonist sort of looking out of the frame. But it does, because those wings are pointing up to the opposite corner, and that's what makes it work. If it weren't for that, you couldn't put it in that part of the frame. So Bianca, let's have a bit of background to this image, and I'm really keen to understand your thought processes behind actually composing it like this, because I just think it's genius.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, William, for make it bronze. I can't explain to you why I put it on that corner. It's like a feeling. When I see the picture, yeah, I don't know. I cropped it a little bit because on the raw pictures you saw a third one who was looking on the right.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I cut it off because yeah, it's a feeling. I don't know how to explain it otherwise. I understand, and of course I know the rules because it's right, it's going out of the picture, but still I thought this is the way I must crop it.
Yeah.
And of course I'm very happy because it's a normal species. They are just tits. I saw amazing pictures from rare species on the top 100 list, so I was very happy and surprised that this picture was winning the third place.
Yeah, well, I think that's you know, a good point actually, because we were having a quick chat before we came on air, and you'd taken this from a hide where there were eagles and golden eagles and that sort of thing, but you chose to concentrate on something else with these great tits.
I do not like hides very much, and I do not like it because the feeding. Normally in the Netherlands, I go to a place where I know species are there, and I just sit down on the ground and wait.
Yeah.
And I love snow, but I'm afraid to drive in it. So I go on tours, so I don't have to drive myself. And this height photography was in the program. So of course I saw the golden eagles. I love the species, but not the eating. They were eating.
Yeah.
So, and then I saw these tits, and they were with many. Sometimes I had 4 or 5 in the pictures, and they were sitting there and a little bit hipping there. I don't know if that's the right English word, but and sometimes one of them came and they start to fight.
Yeah.
So that's
no, it's fantastic, and that's, you know, that's the point I've made about the competition as well. It's not a question of, you know, necessarily the most spectacular and iconic species. It's about the art of the image. It's about the art of the photograph. And I like the way that you've used your you know, photographer's intuition. You know, it's instinct to put things into a frame like that and try these things out. And I think that is that's a really valuable lesson for people, actually, is to listen to, you know, to your guts and listen to your instinct and roll with it. Because okay, a lot of things might not work, but if you come up with pictures like this that really work, they really sort of test people's perception of sort of, you know, the normal rules, and yeah, I think you can come up with something exceptional, you know, as you have done here.
And that's also where personal styles come in. You know, if everyone shot literal in exactly the same way, copied the composition rules, and shot everything the same way, then we wouldn't have unique and different images. So I think that's, as you say, just listen to your gut. But I think that is something. I mean, it's a whole different topic on itself. But some people, it naturally, composition and the artistic look of an image comes naturally. Others, it takes time, and also it happens by the more you photograph, the more you see, you know, images without, you know, thinking about how you're going to crop it, how you're going to frame it. It does begin to naturally become something that you get good at.
Yeah, and actually, isn't it a good idea as well? And this image is a really good example of that. Is to give things a bit more room. I mean, obviously we just judged space as well, which it was an amazing category, and I really enjoy that category as well, simply because, you know, it challenges people to not just concentrate on a close-up portrait of something, is to zoom out a little bit and think about, you know, other areas of the photograph. And I think that's a real challenge, and that's what works really, really well with this. If this was a close-up tight portrait, of those great tits fighting like that. Although it would be a nice image, it would be sort of not ordinary, but it wouldn't have the same impact, is what I'm trying to say. By giving it all that space and by putting it in that part of the frame, it's produced a work of art as opposed to a literal representation of something. So it's using that technique to create the art, and I think that's inspiring. Yeah, I really do. So.
That's nice to hear.
Anyway, Bianca, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing that image as nice as it is, and we'll bring you up larger on the screen, and we'll have a bit more of a chat. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing that image and sharing, you know, the story behind it. And yeah, you said you're becoming a real high key specialist.
I also like to do other things, but
Yeah.
when there is snow, I found it a little bit magic to play with the high key, with the camera settings. And sometimes you go too far with high key, and then the yellow of the tits is not yellow anymore. So then oh no, I must go one step back or one step further.
It's a real skill. How many? What were you there? Were you what? A stopover? A couple of stops over? Can you remember?
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway,
it must be over. I think it must be.
I'd say at least a
right.
stop. Yeah, I'd say at least a stop there. But that's something I've been playing around with all sorts of things actually. With ducks on, from a higher perspective with reflections against high cloud, that sort of thing. So you get this sort of nice white water that they're effectively sitting on. Or I did it with swallows outside the window of this very room actually the other day. I had about 30 of them all on the telephone wire, and they were flying around, and it was against again high cloud, and I just thought, I'm just going to overexpose these and create some white backgrounds, and that worked really well. So it works with all sorts of things. So have a good play around with that, everybody, and of course go the other way as well, with the low key stuff. Such as you'll see the coop behind me is an example of that, where I've underexposed by probably 2 or 3 stops. But anyway, that's why we all love photography.
I love that too, the low key, but I found it difficult.
Yeah,
it's
not easy to
find the right light on the back. Yeah,
it's quite tricky. It doesn't always work. But anyway, but that's what this is all about. So let's just catch up with a couple of comments that coming in. Okay, so Ben Pullitz is on. Hi Ben, he says hi Rob and Will. Natasha Cohen, wonderful picture, and Rachel Piper says love the composition, Bianca. Yeah, exactly. It might be a bit Marmite for people, the composition on that. Some people don't think it works, but I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
It's
so,
a little bit taste. Also, photography is a little bit taste too.
Exactly. And that's why I love the judges' discussions, because we never look at things in the same way. So it can be like... Go on, sorry, Will.
Also a great reminder for people, also if you're watching the judging things and you think, oh, why did that image win? It's so personal. And, a lot of the time an image that's going to win is not one that everyone's going to like. It's one that creates conversation. It makes us think. It's something different, unique. And so it's good to know that, there's different styles and different techniques out there that can split people's opinions as well. Yeah,
and a debate is always good. Debate is always good. And as I said, judges pick up ideas and from judging, this stuff. They see images they've not seen before and techniques that they've not tried themselves, and they, take things away, and they might want to incorporate it in their own photography in some way or other. So I think we can all learn from each other. That's the great thing about competitions and the great thing about the approach of WildArt. Well, I'm hoping that's what people are finding anyways. So certainly seems to be the reaction that a lot of people are having. So yeah, Bianca, it's lovely talking to you again, and well done on a fabulous image. And as I said, all the gold, silver and bronze images go forward to the final this year. So that will be in the mix to be discussed at the end of the year.
I hope there comes a book too.
Bianca, lovely talking to you. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you again, as I said last time. You keep on coming up with images like that, you know, I'm sure that's a certainty. So thank you for the support for the competition, and you know, thank you for entering a wonderful image and sharing it with
Okay.
everybody.
Okay, thank you too.
Okay. I said if you want to hang around and for a chat at the end, then please do. But if you want to get on with your day, that's absolutely fine.
Okay, I will. Bye
Okay.
bye.
All right. Thanks very much. Okay. Right. I'm going to break with tradition because we've got our Silver Award winner isn't here, but our Gold Award winner is. So I'm going to break the sort of, you know, usual flow of things because I don't want to keep him hanging around because the you know, sometimes his phone cuts in and out a little bit. But, so let me just line up the correct video because it's out of order. But so I'm going to do our Gold Award winner. So get ready, Gold Award winner. I'm going to bring you on in a sec. So our Gold Award winner for behavior is Karam. Hello.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And you?
Hi, Rob. Hi, Will.
Well, what another amazing picture.
Very pleased. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm going to bring that up on the screen for everybody, and Will and I'll have a chat about it, and we'll get chatting to you about it in a sec. So let me just, I've got to move this onto the right place because I've got them all in an order and then I change the order on myself. So I'll make sure I bring the right one up. But okay, so let's add that into the broadcast. So hopefully everybody will see that nice and big. Well, go on, William. I'll give you the first go on this.
Yeah, I mean, yet again, it's a high key image. It wasn't a deliberate thing. It was one of those images that just stood as well. We love the composition. It's one of those that there's so much going on, but everything plays into each other. From the hawk, you know, trying to raid the nest, to the one in the top left-hand corner, or the weaver in the top left-hand corner peering out and looking at it. There's just so much that connects the whole scene. And I think that was just so striking. It's interesting, unique behavior with, you know, a beautiful composition, interesting lighting, and those three things together has just made it, you know, a real winning image.
Yeah, and it's that eye contact, isn't it, that really makes it between the two birds. You know, without that weaver poking its head out of the nest, although it would still be a fantastic image, that's the thing that really elevates it from making it a sort of, you know, what makes it a Gold Award winner effectively. You know, it's that element of the image. And I say this a lot. It's, you know, when you get down to the final sort of dozen or so photographs, it's these tiny little things that make the difference between walking away with a gold or a silver or a bronze, something like that, or being, you know, a highly commended position. It's the tiny things. It's just so small, you know, and that's why paying attention to every little detail in an image, you know, is so important when you're talking about competition photography.
And maybe even more than when you're taking it, also when you're looking back and choosing an image from a sequence. If you do have a sequence, just thinking about, you know, how different elements play together. And like this image would have lost something if it didn't have that weaver in the top hand corner, you know, peering out, and there would be no connection there. There'd be no larger story to that sort of initial impact.
Yeah.
Still be a great image, but just adds that fine little cherry on the top.
Yeah, and it's that storytelling, isn't it, that's so important in some images.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the last image was a bold composition. This image is a fabulous composition with all those elements, but there's an element, you know, there's this sort of storytelling element to it. So let's talk to Kuram about the story behind it. So, Kuram, explain to everybody, the species, the two species involved here, and the interaction and what is actually going on.
All right. Thanks for choosing the image, guys. It's a great honor. First of all, thanks, Will. Thanks, Rob. This was on a game drive in Samburu, I think northern Kenya, which is more or less a desert place. We were on the lookout for cheetahs. Apparently, the word on the street was that she was going to be hunting, and our guide was talking to another guide, and then from the corner of my eye, I saw something hanging, and I looked closely, and I realized there was a bird hanging from the weaver nest, which is a fairly common sight in Samburu. So we said, "Oh, no, let's hold on the cheetahs. Let's see what's going on here." As he drove close, I realized that this hawk was hanging and wading into these nests with his long feet. And the birds, there was one bird circling around it, which is not in the frame, and there were a couple of them sitting up top on different branches, creating a lot of noise. And then this one popped up. And I think I got like 4 or 5 frames of the entire sequence, because then the hawk, I think, just got attacked by another weaver and then just let go and went on its way.
Yeah.
So it's initially we thought it was a Montagu's hawk, like a juvenile, but turns out it's actually an adult harrier hawk. I'm not sure about the species of the weaver. There were a bunch of them in there, sort of a multi-specialty colony, so to speak. And it turns out the harrier hawks, this is one of the way they hunt. They hang upside down, and they have these long, thin talons that they go up and, I guess, grab young chicks for a little meal. It was a cloudy day, so I drove close. I just dropped my shutter down because I wanted to get it overexposed so as not to make it entirely a silhouette. And, it happened very, very quickly. I would say from the moment we started driving towards this scenario, and, like maybe not even a minute, it was all over. But you almost want to go back, and we did end up finding the cheetahs, and we had spent some time with them, but I wanted to go and download and see them.
Sorry, my dog's barking, if you can hear that in the background. She did come in earlier to say hello. But anyway, she likes sitting on top of the stairs and barking these days. I don't know why. Anyway, sorry about that.
No problem.
But no, I think that's there's another interesting sort of thing to take away from this, and very similar to Bianca's image earlier, in the fact that you were constant, you'd gone to shoot something completely different and come across another situation which you've taken advantage of and concentrated on. And I think, there's something to be taken away from that, and to be learnt by other people, perhaps, that, you might be going out with the intention of photographing, a species or, a certain scenario, but always having your mind open and looking at other opportunities that might present themselves. And I think that, that's an important message.
Yeah. Don't get tunnel vision by what you want to see. You never know where nature presents another image.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think also, it's a good reminder for people coming to sort of African national parks. I know there's always that thing of like, when you book a trip to come here, you want to see the big cats and you want to see the, giraffe, elephant, zebra, tick all the things off the list. But, as someone who lives here, often those are not the most photogenic things. You might get lucky, you might get a kill, but even kills normally don't happen in good light. You can't get in the right position. It happens too quickly. So also, step back and enjoy some of the more beautiful things. And this is a prime example of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really good thing to say, is to not have those blinkers on. When you go to certain places and go, right, this is what I want to do. This is, I'm only focusing on that. Is to open your mind a little bit to other possibilities, and then you come up with images like this potentially. And thinking about, the situation that you're in and how you're going to shoot it, and the final picture, how you want that to look before you press the shutter button, is really important. And to identify, the potential for, the high key feel to this image because of the weather conditions, I think is another skill.
Yeah,
another thing.
I actually, got into high key a couple of years ago. Before that, when I actually took this shot, I was like, yeah, this would have looked great if I had a green background. And, if I had the opportunity, maybe when I took it back in 2019, I would have made sure that it had a green background. Not that we could, this was happening really high up. But now going back, I actually like it the way it is. Making it high key makes it simple, takes away distractions. It just turns about, it becomes an image between the Harrier and the Weaver and what they're doing, and nothing, everything else is simple. Like the bronze, winner, it's just about those tits and where it is, and everything else is nice and white. I like minimalism. I like simplicity. It makes for more impactful imaging, in my opinion.
I think that, don't they say about sort of company logos, for example, if you're taking the more simple company logos, the more memorable they are, if you think about the things that stick in your mind. And photography is very, very similar, I think. With these images that stick in them or have more impact are the ones where there are simple elements to it, because there's no distraction. The attention is on the right places.
I mean, I'm not saying that images with high saturations or stuff like that aren't good. I'm not saying that, but I personally think that these subtle images with not so flashy light and stuff make more of an impact than some of those very initial images which have the initial shock, and then you sort of forget about them. Yeah,
exactly. No, I agree entirely. No, it's a wonderful shot. It's a wonderful shot and a well-deserved winner. So congratulations to you. You're doing rather well this year, Khurram.
Yeah, I can't complain, right? 2022 has so far been good, actually.
Yeah.
This year, I can't complain. I'll take what I can get.
Absolutely. Well, certainly look forward to to seeing more of this sort of stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah, I need to start photographing more. It's been a busy year in terms of work and everything, but hopefully that will change in the second half of the year.
Yeah. Well, we've got autumn coming up, and that presents all sorts of opportunities.
I'm over summer.
Yeah, exactly. Right, let me stop sharing this image, as good as it is, and we'll sort of bring it up nice and large, and we can say goodbye to you. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're at work, and it's been a little awkward for you to come on and have a chat.
This quite worked out with the time. So far, so good.
Good. Well, I said thank you for the effort. That's brilliant. Let me deal with just a couple of comments before you go.
Absolutely.
Where are we? Rebecca Nason says, I think this is about Bianca's image. Is this really stood out when judging? Super well done.
Thanks.
That's about Bianca's. And she says about yours, fabulous shot, super gold winner. Absolutely. Rachel Piper says, well deserved, Khurram, a powerful image. And Ben Pullett says, wow, awesome image, Khurram. That Weaver must have been scared.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But no, fantastic. So thank you for coming on, and nice chatting to you again, Khurram.
Wonderful.
I'm sure we'll chat again soon. So,
nice to talk to you, Will.
Yeah. And I said, if you want to hang around, we can have a chat afterwards. But if you need to get on and whatever, it's no problem.
Sounds good.
Entirely up to you. All right, Khurram. Lovely talking to you again. And congratulations. Fabulous image.
Take care.
Okay. Cheers. Right. I said, sorry about doing things out of order, but I just didn't want to keep everybody waiting. So let me now show you. We'll do our Silver Award winner, who isn't here, unfortunately, but William and I can have a good chat about this image, which again is tremendous and slightly different from the last two images. So anyway, without further ado, here is our Silver Award winner for Behavior. Oh, that's different. That's different. Apparently that's a banded jawfish, I think it is the species, which I've not heard of before. But isn't that the great thing, is that we can show things that people won't have seen before necessarily. So yeah. Anyway, let me bring that picture up, and then you can tell us what made it stand out for you. So let me add that into the, let me just go, yeah, there we are. That's the right picture. So what stood out with this image?
I think as opposed to some of the other images where you're instantly taken back by the action or instantly taken back by the composition or so on, this is one of those images that maybe we overlooked in the first few times of looking at it, and then suddenly you're drawn in, and once you start seeing things and the details and all the different little elements like the young fish in the mouth and the color of the eyes and the composition of the shells framing it's just one of those images. The longer you look at it, the more you are drawn into it. And I think it's just yet again maybe more of a literal representation of behavior, but because of that, it's got so much interest, and I think it's a really striking image.
Well, I would say that there's a lot of art in this as well, because of the way the lighting is, and as you said, the framing, around the fish, and then all the sort of subtle textures and everything in the other parts of the frame, and the actual positioning, of the main subject as well. I think that it's artful in a different way, and I think that's a good thing about the competition, that it's exposing people to different techniques and different ways of that photographers express their artistic side. And the other good thing about this, as you were saying about perhaps not overlooking the image, but it didn't have the impact initially that it then had later on down the line. It's because you as judges have plenty of time to look at a smaller selection of images, because we're doing this one category at a go, then it gives images like this more of a chance to grow, rather than sort of going, oh, I've got 8,000 pictures to go through and I've got 2 weeks to do it, and it's and you may well fly past something like this. It just gives you a bit more time.
Exactly that. I mean, for people who don't completely know sort of our judging process, we go through and we rate, we look through all the images, we narrow it down to a certain amount. And by the time we do a judging call, we've narrowed it down to 10, 15 images by that stage. And so we spend 2, 3, 4 hours if need be, or even come back and re-look at it again and again, which has happened. I mean, that's what happened from color last year from my category. We actually did 2 sittings because we wanted to make sure that it's right. And I mean, I think we spent about 5, 6 hours by the end of that. But at the end, we knew we had the images that rightfully deserve those positions. And I think that really is key. We're not just looking through and quickly picking one we like. We're going through, we're talking about it, we're discussing compositions. And the longer you look at things, the more you see it really is the case, and the more the brilliance of the photograph that initially maybe doesn't stand out comes through.
No, it's and I think that's an important thing to say, is that sometimes these judging sessions go on for a long time because they need to, because we need to get the decision, or a decision that sort of sits well for the judge and well for the competition and well for the for the level of entries. We want to get that decision right. I mean, we all know that photography is a subjective art form, just like any form of art. So what one person likes, somebody else doesn't. So it's not a question of being right or wrong. I just think it's a question of making sure that those people, those images that deserve some recognition, get it.
And I think even on a bit of a side note in terms of the judging, a lot of other competitions have a large number of judges that if everyone's judging it, it's going to end up with the average sort of points, or the average image, or the average high scored image, if I could say that, if that makes any sense. And so by doing that, you're trying to please everyone, whereas we've broken these down so that each month is someone different, and it is I view some images different from another person, and that's why we're also trying to change up who judges the categories to give more people a chance. So I think it's
I think it's trying to avoid decision by committee, really, isn't it? In a certain way. So you get the average of 10 or people, so you get the image that sort of most people like, but perhaps isn't as striking as a I wouldn't say more deserving, because that's the wrong way of saying it, but there are other images that are have a little bit more of a positive and negative swing with people, and those are the sort of images that then get sidelined because you can't get agreement. And I think that this it's an important element of photography competitions to not to allow that to happen so much, and to allow the controversial images, I guess, those images that aren't necessarily liked overall, or to have a say. And I think just to explain to people the process is that we choose basically 3 judges for each of the categories, and I allow the judge who's in charge of the category to choose who they want to work with, and then I choose the other person, so we get a nice balance of gender, and we get a nice balance of experience and style types and geographical location. So we've got a good judging mix, and that's worked really, really well.
Really has. And it's also sitting down, people think that there should be sort of a rightful winner that everyone instantly loves, but it's amazing how some people pick up nuances to an image that you didn't see before, or negative aspects as well in the same way.
I think that only once has this happened in the sort of almost 2 years we've been doing this, and this was actually for the last category we did. I'm not going to give the game away, obviously, but basically the winner effectively picked itself, almost from what the judges had all said, and there was an immediate consensus on one particular image, and it was the easiest winner because it was just so standout. The rest of them we had a good chat about, I can tell you. But it's the only time it's happened. There's always obviously we had a discussion about it, but it was so clear cut that everybody, and I've never ever had that before, where everybody, it was their number one choice with everybody. So
I'm intrigued to see the image now.
Yeah. Well, I might tell you off here. Oh dear. Anyway, no. So Matthew Sullivan is our Silver Award winner. So well done to you, Matthew. And it's a shame. It's a shame you couldn't come on and have a chat. But hopefully another time. You'll have to, keep entering and see if you can, see if you can come up in a sort of prize position again before the year's out. Because there have been some tremendously strong entries from him actually over the months. He's been very, very consistent. Some really beautiful stuff. So well done, Matthew. That is a tremendous image, and a well-deserved Silver Award winner. So anyway, let's stop sharing that screen for now. So that just remained. Let's just catch up on a couple of comments before I do the commendeds and highly commended. So let's just see who we've got. Okay, so Rachel Piper says another great photo. And Rebecca Nason says that light and composition is extraordinary. Love it. And Hi-He says, do you make a distinction between underexposing in field or post-processing? If we're talking about the sort of rules and surrounding the competition, we like things done in camera as much as possible, but an element of post-processing is fine. If you've got a raw image, that raw image needs to be processed, and I think everybody understands that. And if you see something in a raw image which you can extract, as long as you're not, I think the problem with digital manipulation is if you misrepresent something that you've seen in some way, that's where the lines get crossed. It's extremely difficult area to actually nail down and give some really clear guidance on, which is why it tends to be towards the more cautious side, because if you give people a bit more latitude, then they tend to take advantage of it. And where do you draw lines? It's extremely difficult, but I think, you know, if with something like that, if you come across a situation like Bianca did or like Kurum did, where, you know, a high key approach, you know, really works, it's identifying that as a photographer in your head when you're taking the image and adjusting, you know, and adjusting your approach to suit. So what's the difference between underexposing in the field? Well, I think it's just the vision you have as a photographer. If you're, you know, you have to you can't create a high key image, or it's very difficult to create a high key image if you've shot it, you know, at a normal exposure without really pushing, you know, the various sliders in post, you know, in post processing with, and then you start introducing all sorts of elements that I think end up being pretty obvious. But if you've deliberately overexposed because you have that idea in your mind, and then you just add to, you know, or just process it in a way that you're creating what you had in your head, then that's absolutely fine.
And often if we see an image that we have questions about, because you do pick up on things if you know, editing has been overdone. You know, all of us judges have seen thousands of photographs. We're constantly, you know, editing our own images, and we also push the limits on our own images sometimes, whether it's for print or, you know, for, you know, fine art prints. That's the time where I will push it because I know that it's not going into a competition.
Yep.
So it's also having distinctions within that. It's okay to edit your image if you have a creative, you know, view on what you're doing. But often in competitions, if it is vastly changed and it's not, doesn't have the integrity of the original scene, then we do question it and it becomes a discussion.
Yeah.
And there has been times in the past in this competition where we have been forced to remove images because we don't feel like it's fair or fitting.
Yeah.
And that's why we also ask for raw images.
Absolutely, so we can check them. Hi, he says, but you make the image unusable for other purposes, or in field autofocus may not work as well. Well, I'm not sure about the autofocus thing. I think if you know, in particular, if you've got something like the Great Tits and you've got, you know, the Harrier Hawk, and those certain circumstances, they shouldn't affect autofocus at all, because you know, you're talking about exposure here. But making the image unusable for other purposes, it depends what you want to use the image for. I mean, if you're shooting for competitions or you're shooting for yourself and you want to create a high key effect, then that's what you're trying to create with your photography. Why would you want to use it for anything else? Take a series of things, use different exposure settings if you want a set of images that you can then, say, perhaps use for stock photography, for example. Or you've got a magazine article that you're writing that you want to display a literal representation of something, then that's fine. You know, you're shooting for a different purpose. But for me, I always shoot with a purpose in mind. So if I've got a magazine article to write and I'm writing about a certain subject, or, you know, I write about wildlife photography a lot, obviously. And if I want a certain technique that I'm writing about, then obviously I'll go out and I'll shoot images with that technique, you know, to show people what's possible. I might also take images that, for an example, for a high key image, I might also take a normally exposed image and show people the difference between this is what the camera wanted to do, but I took control of the camera and this is what I told it to do. So this is, you know, this is the difference that you can make. But anyway, whole other subject, I guess, and we can save that for perhaps, you know, another live. I want to do one on high key, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe we should do it from in terms of taking the images low key, high key, and then also editing, just to show what can be done if you don't get it right on the camera, or also how to do it and then edit it from there. Maybe that's something we should look at doing.
And Rashaka, I hope I haven't butchered your name too much. It would be great to also showcase the raw images to showcase the difference. Well, we could do that in, you know, as I said, in perhaps some more sort of technical, you know, technical explanations of things. If we're, as you say, if we're talking about high key, low key, for instance, we could certainly do that. But anyway, that's a subject for another live, perhaps we can do. Anyway, getting sidetracked a bit. Let's show everybody. Let's start with the highly commended images. So let me just line that video up so I'm sure I get the right ones. Okay, so here are our highly commended photographers. Congratulations to all of them. and I'll play that video for you now. A great selection of styles and species in that lot.
I mean, and so some of those images, I'm not going to say we forgot, but you know, once you've edited it and once you've picked your favorites and you go through this whole process, those others then end up going into highly commended, and it's so nice to see them, and it's a huge credit to anyone who's taken those images. Those are fantastic images, and please be proud of being highly commended. I think it's an incredible achievement. There's some beautiful, beautiful images, and as you say, so many different subjects, and that was a nice thing to come from behavior. People didn't just do necessarily the literal. There was some literal which were great. There was some, you know, expected species, and then there was some that we just didn't even think of being behavior oriented or an image to come from that.
Absolutely. So well done to everybody on that list, and but we've also got the commended to do as well. So there's another little selection of pictures coming your way. So I hope everybody enjoys these as well. So these are our commended images in behavior. So well done to all these photographers as well. And I'll play this video for you now. Lots of invertebrates in that selection.
Yeah. And there was. No, it's a fantastic selection, and also what I was looking at this time as well is the names, because we do judge blind, and you know, it's all about the image, and then seeing all the different names and seeing also just all the different nationalities through the name is fantastic.
Oh, it's been an absolute joy, you know, to run this, you know, and see, you know, what a great and varied selection of images that come in, you know, so many different species from all around the world, from photographers, you know, from, as we've seen this evening, you know, from all around the globe. It's just, it's very humbling actually for me as a, you know, as an organizer to, you know, to see all this stuff coming in. So it's fantastic stuff. And you can see how difficult it is for the judges even to get down to a top 100. As I said, you know, when I first started this, I know, you know, the top 100 really wasn't part of the plan, because I didn't know how many images we'd get coming in. I didn't know the standard would be so high. So that first category we did last year, you know, with Gail, you know, when we did wet, and when I saw what had come in, I just thought, how are we going to narrow this down? How do we, you know, how do we start this process? And I just thought, well, there's there's over 100 really top-notch images here. Well, fine, let's do a top 100, and that's where it started. And I thought, well, let's do that. Let's show people, the standard that we're getting. And every time, picking a top 100 is so difficult. And then, I said, narrowing it down to winners. Well, I'm glad you lot do it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's always the challenge. But yeah, as you said, yet again, going through this month was tough to narrow it down to 100. So credit to anyone who got in that 100, and also credit to people who didn't. There was some very close calls as well. So please keep those amazing images coming through, because it's a pleasure for us to be able to look at them and be inspired by them. And
it's humbling. And, I think, for people that perhaps are just sort of starting out, on their sort of wildlife photography journeys, don't be intimidated by the judges, because they're here, they want to see your work, they want to enjoy it. So please don't be intimidated. Go and have a go. Let's show us what you've got, because if you've got a unique approach, or you've done something that judges haven't seen before, that's what they like. That's what stands out. So, you never know, and enjoy the process. I mean, this whole thing it's about enjoying the process and enjoying the journey. And hopefully, we're taking people along and inspiring them, and perhaps, with some people, even teaching them a thing or two. If you can take one or two little things away, from the competition or from some of these lives, that you then use in your own approach, well, it's got to be a good thing, isn't it?
And also, I mean, the judging process certainly for me is a real introspective view on my selection of images from the year. So looking through them, critiquing them yourself. If you're ever sort of wondering which image you should put into a competition, sit there and go, why do I dislike it, or why do I like it? Either of those two questions, and really look into it. I mean, I hope this session as well, and the images that we awarded here, we tried to describe the elements, but it's a short amount of time. We could sit here for half an hour, and we did when we were judging them. We sat there for 3-4 hours, looking through and all the fine little details, and that's always good. And it's good to do that with your own images, even if you're not awarded. It's a great thing to do.
And this is a really good piece of advice for people, and I think something I've mentioned before. But when you are entering the competition, be very, very selective about what you enter. Be really hard on yourself, and try and sort of get down to what you think is your best work. And I think don't put in any fillers. I go for the best stuff, and don't go for similars either. If you've got 2 or 3 shots and you can't decide, of the same sort of sequence, if you like, same thing, and you can't decide which one to put in, don't end up entering all 3. Just go for one, because you take the focus away from the other 2 images, because you dilute the effect by doing that. So concentrate, be very, very hard on, be very selective, with what you enter, and think about the categories and what the judges are looking for very, very carefully. And we try and help people out with this by doing some of these live events and chatting to the judges and giving them a bit of an insight. So go back and have a look at some of those videos as well. I did one. Obviously, abstracts is our category for this month, and last week I chatted to Victoria Hillman about photographing flowers, but we had a good chat about the abstracts category as well at the start. So go back and have a look at that video if you haven't seen it already. Plus, there's some great stuff in there, some really good tips from Vic about how she goes about photographing flowers and the lovely images that she comes up with. So that's well worth a watch. Anyway, let's just go through what are actually quite a few comments coming in. So let me try and deal with those before we wrap up. Okay. So hi, he says, thanks for the explanation. I think that's the chat we had about high key. So Crystal says, wow, these highly commended images are incredible. Yeah, that's why we have such a job sorting them all out. And Alex says, indeed they are. And Crystal says, as well as the commended ones. Well, I think we knew you were lumping them all in together. And Dan Doria is on. Hi, Dan. Hope you're well. Obviously, you'll remember Dan from some of our past presentations. He says, extraordinary selection of images from the top down. Outstanding. Here. And Alex Brack says again, whoa, a great selection of pictures. Congratulations to every photographer. And Christian Borbelli says, hi, congratulations to everyone. Great selection, and congratulations to you, Christian, as well. For an image you've got in there, obviously. And Aaron Todd, you'll remember Aaron with that picture of the mallard and the reflected lights, the vertical picture. He says, I like the top 100 format. There are so many inspiring images every month. The judges have a challenging job. Yeah, they certainly do. They certainly do. Glad you like the format. We're going to keep that going. Crystal says, hi, Aaron. I can only imagine. I could never narrow them down. Yeah, they're having a chat between themselves. So, yeah. Alan James says, thanks, Rob and Will. Great shots. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's probably a good place to wrap it up. We're over the hour again, despite my promises to the contrary that I was going to keep it to an hour. Hey.
Yeah, you can blame me.
No, well, it's me. I just, talk too much. Always happens. But anyway, I hope people have enjoyed that, and it's given everybody some inspiration. So yeah, William, hang on the line. We'll have a chat afterwards, but let's wrap it up and say thank you to everybody who came on and had a chat. Well done to all our winners. Well done to everybody who entered this particular category. It was another fantastic one, and obviously don't forget that Abstracts is open for entries and closes at the end of August. So do make sure you have a go at that. One of my favorite categories. Again, I say this about every category, but we had some tremendous stuff last year, really inspiring. So I'm looking forward to seeing what basically what people enter this year. So anyway, yeah. William, I'll
everyone, just want to say that before I disappear, just congratulations to everyone from Commended, and thank you for giving me such a hard task. It was really good fun going through all the images, so thank you.
Judges like having a hard time.
We do.
They do. Will, thanks very much for the time, and thanks for coming on and and telling everybody what made those pictures stand out, and for chatting to all our winners. So it's always really good fun. So hang on the line, and I'll just wrap up and we'll have a quick chat afterwards. But for the moment, I'll say goodbye. Okay, thanks very much.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks, Rob.
Okay, let me line up the outro, and then we're done. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. I hope that's proved inspirational. It was certainly inspirational for us to go through all those wonderful pictures again and try desperately to pick some winners from a fabulous selection. But I hope you agree there's some very, very well-deserving shots amongst that selection. So as I said, don't forget that Abstracts is open for entries and closes at the end of August. So do make sure you have a go at that one. Really looking forward to seeing what you've got there. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. The next live, I think, is going to be 2 weeks' time with Josh Galicki. We're going to do the winners for space. So I'll put that live up on the YouTube channel, on the Facebook page very shortly, but I think that's going to be 2 weekends on the Sunday. So what does that make it? The 21st, I think. So look out for that. So I'll post that up so everybody can see it, and I'll send you all an email. But I said, thank you very much. Have a good rest of the evening, everybody. And we'll see you again in a couple of weeks' time.